The conference room smelled like lemon polish and old coffee. Artificial light pooled across the mahogany table, reflecting off the stack of manila folders arranged in front of three people I'd never met before. My wife's attorney, a woman in her late 40s with perfect posture and a smile that never reached her eyes, leaned back in her chair and said, "Mr. Garrett, you should understand something. When this is finished, you'll get nothing." She paused, letting the words settle. "Your wife has been very thorough." I didn't argue. I didn't lean forward. My hands stayed flat on the table. I said, "I understand." She blinked just once, the smile faltering. What she didn't know was that I'd spent 3 months making sure paper remembered what people tried to forget. My name is Daniel Garrett. I was 51 years old, and I'd been married to Rachel for 19 years. I worked in compliance for a mid-sized logistics firm, the kind of job where you check boxes, track shipments, make sure regulations are followed. It wasn't glamorous, it paid the bills. It kept the lights on. Rachel worked in marketing, made more than I did, traveled frequently. We had a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, a vacation fund we never used because her schedule was always too full. For years, I thought we had something stable. I grocery shopped on Saturdays. I handled the utilities, the insurance renewals, the oil changes. I'd come home from work, set my keys on the kitchen counter, ask about her day. Most nights she'd be on her laptop responding to emails. "Busy week," she'd say, not looking up. I'd nod, make dinner, eat alone while she worked in the office upstairs. I let it go. I let a lot go. I told myself marriage was about accommodation, about giving space when someone needed it. I didn't realize I was the only one accommodating. The cracks started small. A dinner party where she introduced me as the guy who pays the mortgage, while her colleagues laughed. A vacation she booked with friends. No mention of me until I asked directly, and she said, "You wouldn't enjoy it anyway." Little dismissals, casual erasures. Then 6 months ago, she sat me down at the kitchen table. It was a Tuesday evening. The dishwasher was running. She had a printed document in front of her, 2 pages stapled together. She slid it across the table and said, "I need you to sign this." I looked down. It was a post-nuptial agreement. "What is this?" I asked. She sipped her wine, casual. "It's a financial separation. I'm protecting my assets. My attorney says it's standard." I read the first paragraph. It transferred all joint savings into her name. It waived my claim to the house, the retirement accounts, everything we'd built together. I looked up. "Rachel, we've been married 19 years. She smiled, the same smile I'd seen her use in meetings with difficult clients. "Exactly. And I've carried most of the financial weight. This just formalizes reality." She adjusted her bracelet, checked her phone screen. "Sign it tonight. I need it filed by Friday." I should have argued. I should have refused. Instead, I picked up the pen she'd placed next to the paper. I signed my name. She stood, collected the document, kissed the top of my head like I was a child who'd finally done his homework. "Thank you," she said. "This makes everything cleaner." That was the moment something inside me went quiet. I didn't pack a bag that night. I didn't shout or demand explanations. I went upstairs to the guest bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed with my phone in my hands. The room smelled faintly of lavender from the air freshener Rachel kept plugged into the wall. I opened my banking app. I scrolled through our joint account history, transfers I hadn't authorized, payments to attorneys I'd never heard of, a wire to an account in her name only, dated 3 weeks earlier. I took screenshots. I didn't feel angry. I felt focused. I opened my email and searched for her name. I found correspondence with a financial planner I didn't know, discussing asset protection strategies and separation timelines. I saved everything to a folder on my laptop. Then I called my brother Tom. It was late, past 11, but he answered on the second ring. "Dan?" "I need the name of a good attorney," I said. "Family law." There was a pause. "What happened?" "I'll explain later. Just a name." He gave me 2. I thanked him and hung up. I sat in the quiet, looking at the empty walls, the generic furniture Rachel had chosen when she turned this room into a guest space I was now occupying. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. The attorney's name was Patricia Lim. I met her in her office on a Thursday morning. The space was small, organized, no pretense. She had short gray hair and the kind of calm that comes from seeing the same patterns repeat across hundreds of cases. I handed her the post-nuptial agreement, the bank statements, the emails. She read for 10 minutes without speaking. Then she looked up and said, "You signed this under duress?" "I signed it because I didn't know what else to do," I said. She nodded. "That's duress. You weren't given time to consult counsel. The terms are unconscionable. We can challenge it." She tapped the document. "But more importantly, your wife made a mistake." "What mistake?" "She moved assets while still claiming the marriage was intact. She filed this as a mutual agreement, but these emails show it was coerced. And she didn't disclose the offshore account." She pointed to a line in one of the emails I'd forwarded. I hadn't even noticed it. "What do I do?" I asked. Patricia leaned back. "You observe. You don't explain. You save everything. You contact no one. Let her think she's won. Let the system do what systems do when documentation is thorough." Over the next 8 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I went to work. I came home. I cooked meals in the kitchen while Rachel worked upstairs, her presence a hum of keyboard clicks in conference calls. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't notice the shift. I started receiving notifications. A text from the bank. "Joint account access modified. Secondary holder permissions reduced." I screenshot it. An email from our insurance company. "Beneficiary change request received." I forwarded it to Patricia. A voicemail from Rachel's mother, her voice tight with false sweetness. "Daniel, Rachel says you're being difficult about paperwork. You know she's only trying to help you both." I saved it. I didn't call back. One night I opened a drawer in Rachel's office while she was at a work dinner. I found a folder labeled Post-Separation. Inside were financial projections, property valuations, a timeline for filing divorce papers without my knowledge. I photographed every page. My phone buzzed, a text from Rachel. "Running late, don't wait up." I looked at the time, 9:47 p.m. I replied, "Okay." Then I went back to my work. The escalation came in the 3rd month. Rachel's text shifted from casual to commanding. "We need to discuss next steps. My attorney says you're stalling. Sign the revised documents or this gets ugly." I didn't respond. Her attorney sent a formal letter to my address, even though I still lived in the same house. It outlined penalties for non-compliance, threatened court action, claimed I was obstructing a mutual agreement. Patricia read it and smiled. "She's panicking," she said. "That's when people make mistakes." And Rachel did. She transferred another $40,000 from the joint account to her personal account. The bank flagged it. I received an automated alert. "Large transfer detected. Confirm authorization?" I forwarded it to Patricia, who forwarded it to a forensic accountant. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Mr. Garrett, this is Ann Cho from the Compliance Division at Bridgewater Financial. We're conducting a review of account activity linked to your wife's portfolio. Do you have time to answer a few questions?" I sat down. "Yes," I said. The questions were specific. Dates, amounts, account numbers. I answered each one with precision. When the call ended, I sat in my car in the office parking lot and realized the quiet war was almost over. The meeting was scheduled for a Monday morning at Rachel's attorney's office. I arrived early, wearing the same navy suit I'd worn to job interviews 2 decades ago. Patricia was already there, her briefcase open on the table. Rachel and her attorney arrived together, confident, laughing about something I couldn't hear. They sat across from us. Rachel's attorney, the woman who'd told me I'd get nothing, opened a folder and began. "We're here to finalize the terms. Mr. Garrett, if you'll initial each page, we can move forward without litigation." I looked at Patricia. She nodded. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single folder. I placed it on the table and slid it across. "Before I sign anything," I said evenly, "I think you should see this." Rachel's attorney opened it. Her expression didn't change immediately. Then it did. She flipped through the pages: bank records, email threads, account transfers, the offshore account disclosures Rachel had never mentioned, the timeline of asset movements that proved premeditation. Rachel leaned forward. "What is that?" Her attorney held up a hand. "These are privileged financial documents. Where did you get these?" "From our joint accounts," I said, "and from correspondence your client conducted using our shared email server." Patricia spoke for the first time. "We've also filed a motion to void the postnuptial agreement on grounds of coercion and non-disclosure. The forensic accountant's report is attached. You'll see the pattern." Rachel's face shifted. Denial first. "This is ridiculous. I didn't hide anything." Then anger. "You've been spying on me? Going through my things?" Then bargaining. "We can fix this. We don't need to make this public." Her attorney closed the folder. She looked at Rachel, then at me. "Mr. Garrett, what do you want?" I didn't hesitate. "An equitable division. What I'm legally entitled to. Nothing more, nothing less." Rachel's voice cracked. "Dan, please. We can handle this privately. You don't have to." I stood. "I didn't break anything, Rachel. I stopped pretending." I looked at her attorney. "You'll receive our counter-proposal by Friday." I picked up my bag. Patricia followed. We left them sitting there. 3 months later, I changed the locks on the guest bedroom. Rachel had moved out by then, into an apartment downtown with a view she'd always wanted. The settlement was finalized. The house stayed in joint ownership until sale. The accounts were divided fairly. The offshore funds were disclosed and split. I kept my retirement. She kept hers. I stood in the kitchen on a Saturday morning, the first morning I'd had the space entirely to myself, and made coffee in silence. The light came through the window at an angle I'd never noticed before. The air smelled like nothing. No perfume, no tension, no performance. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. I sat at the table, the same table where she'd slid that document across and assumed I'd disappear quietly, and I understood something I hadn't before. Silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's preparation. Self-respect doesn't announce itself. It just stops asking permission. If you'd been in my position, would you have signed that document the first time, or would you have refused immediately? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I read them. I really do. Your presence means more than you know. These stories don't exist in isolation. They're part of something larger, a recognition that quiet strength matters as much as loud defiance. If stories like this matter to you, if you've ever had to choose between keeping peace and keeping yourself, subscribe. Let's keep walking this road together.